So as I'm recording this, the markets are closed, but oil closed in the low 70s. And after market close, there's been more fighting in the Middle East, in the Persian Gulf. Not one event, looks like a couple. So how long may this MOU last? Between their maybe all-out fighting once more. But there's been around 8 weeks of drawdowns in the US. Cushing in the US, which is basically a hub or a big tank farm, which is the delivery point for WTI, may now be under 20 million barrels, as everyone would be hearing who follows the markets. Now, from what I've heard, they keep saying 20 million is sort of like the level where they can't draw it down much more than that. And I'll go into why that may be the case. And if you've got a tank, we'll say 1,000 barrels for argument's sake, just for a round number, 1,000 barrels. These are huge tanks, but we'll just say 1,000 barrels. You can't access those 1,000 barrels. You can access maybe 750, 800 of those barrels. For one thing, you've got a dead zone at the bottom, which would be below the suction point of the pump, below the valve that is the tank outlet. And below that, you wait for maintenance periods or whatever, and you suck out the oil or hydrocarbons at the bottom in another way. But you don't use the actual pump you're using to move the liquid somewhere else. Now, if you've got 1,000 barrels in the tank, let's say, or even if it's a 1,000 barrel tank, you can only put 950 in there anyway. You have to have a little bit at the top because you've got vents at the top, etc. Even in the big tanks, they're all the same. They're just bigger tanks. Now, at the start, when you got 950 and 900, the pumps work well because the pumps need something up against them, some pressure, because that volume will create some pressure on the pump for displacement. Now, the lower you get, of course, that pressure comes off because the volume is less. And then you get down under, say, 500 barrels. Then you get down to 400 barrels. And then the pumps start to struggle. And eventually you get down and you either flick off the pumps or you risk damaging the pumps. And then you're into maintenance. And even if you get more oil and you start restocking all the tanks, you're not going to be moving any liquids because all your pumps are going to be in trouble. Even though you have backup pumps for every pump, etc., you don't go around damaging all your equipment. So if they're down under 20 million barrels, well, they have to start pulling barrels from somewhere to start restocking the tank farm. Now, don't get me wrong, the whole system in the US, for example, with the inventories, SPR, etc., everything, all the crude in the system isn't going to go to zero all at once. But refining capacity is another story. That's how you get the jet fuel, the diesel, etc. And with the peak driving system in the US coming up, and refining capacities in the US may be around 90-95% now, there's not much room for any more. All it may take, when you've got the ongoing conflict in the Persian Gulf and you've got the conflict in the east, in Eastern Europe, is, let's say, a large hurricane in the Gulf of America that shuts down a whole bunch of wells and some refineries. Woof, because these prices are global, what would WTI, what would diesel and jet fuel go to then? Especially, as I said on other videos, if Russia, due to ongoing attacks on their facilities, may be considering cutting diesel exports. So I've heard there's massive shorts in the market, or the oil market, paper market, like big stuff. Now, whoever would be doing that would want to have deep pockets, because anybody who follows the oil market, I think maybe just scratching their heads at where oil is at. And is it really state actors intervening in the oil market? Like, if you go back even a year, or before Midnight Hammer, etc., and you get one almost unknown loadout facility in some country you've never heard of somewhere that's dropped 100,000 barrels a day because of maintenance, and oil would tick up $2. Now, look what's going on, and it can't even hold 80 at the moment. To be in the low 70s with all this going on, incredible. And then you've got the Red Dragon. You've got China, who may be sitting pretty on a huge stockpile of oil, and with a manufacturing base that may almost be unbeatable, untouchable. And I, for one, I wish the regime in Australia had the foresight and intelligence that the governments of the US and China have, to be in the positions they're in, because about 30 or 40% of the US SPR being released may have been going overseas, and China's just sitting on a huge stockpile of crude. But instead, the regime in Australia may be off with the fairies with this net zero nightmare. And at the end of the day, is that just a business opportunity? Like, which country benefits the most from Australia chasing net zero? Where do all the solar panels come from? Where do all the wind turbines come from, for a start? But if the war in the East with Russia and Ukraine, if that escalates, because Russia is a major energy supplier, and the Persian Gulf kicks off again, may oil hold these levels it's currently at? Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And as I said before, nothing on this channel is ever in any way financial advice or anything like that. It's just me rambling. But thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you can, and I'll keep rambling on the next one.